I think we do move into just open discussion right now, though, so we can just keep going and give me that.
You know, and the discussion of the glacier movement, it reminds me of the difference between walking in my neighborhood and driving in it. What I see when I walk is ever so much more, and the scale is different. I have a number of neighbors who have planted pollinator-friendly gardens, and if I'm walking, I notice the butterflies, the bees, the little tiny butterflies that you only see really because they're moving. And if I'm driving, I'm by it so fast I don't even see it.
I've been thinking about some of the parallels that were showing up for me across this cluster, and just thinking about going back to Molly's presentation and this idea of like the time it takes and the start of that artistic process to do the work, the invisible work that she named, and thinking of that as like a practice of spaciousness and slow time. And then Missy and Kathy thinking about y'all's sharing around trauma-informed teaching, and how like so many of those processes of like safety and stability and resiliency and recovery, compassion, dependability, like all of that work also necessitates this kind of like being willing to slow down, being willing to like take the time it takes to listen and be with and witness. So it's really fun for me to kind of see the connective tissue between these three presentations, workshops today.
One of the things that I have a hard time doing, but I know it's very centering, is being right here, right now, practicing this moment. This is because life takes place in this moment. If I'm in yesterday, I'm usually beating myself up for something I didn't do. And if I'm in tomorrow, I'm usually afraid of something that's going to happen that I don't have any control over anyway. But whenever I am distressed about those things, a practice to come back to right here, right now, and some of the things that we've done, slowing down, mirroring, that they require intense focus, and it brings me back to right here, right now, where I'm okay. I'm okay, no matter what's going on. I'm okay right here, right now.
Well, now that we have all of the presenters here from this cluster, like feel free to ask any questions, or maybe, I don't know, if some of you who presented today and talked and led the workshops have questions for the participants that are here.
I am curious for the presenters, what your self operation or discipline, or I don't know how to call it, but how do you do this every day? Is this an everyday practice? Is it you just pull it out of your pocket when you need it? How does it work for you?
I can share first. So something that I've really appreciated about having a coalition to work with is 2 years ago, we made some commitments to practicing anti-racism in our teaching in dance education. And from that commitment, from that specific commitment, anti-racism in dance education, it has grown into those multiple sites of change. How do I practice that in my own self? How do I practice that in just relating with my friends and my family, then with my students, then with the larger institutions? And having that collective care and collective accountability with trusted folks who share similar values really helps me keep this as a practice, not just for myself, but for myself and the collective transformation. And so for me, I think of Patrice Cullors in her new book, The Abolitionist Handbook. She writes, even an abolitionist needs to make a target run. So this is a practice that is taking time over time. And I'm not perfect at it. Like when Rebekah was guiding us through finding urgency, I found a lot of urgency today. But yeah, having a collective that I trust and trusts me and holding each other accountable to those values is helpful for me.
I'll hop in. So like there are aspects that are definitely a daily practice for me. And one of the things I didn't really get to was like whatever's coming up, whatever kind of response is coming up, I kind of see like there are 3 avenues to explore with it. So either like, do I want to counter whatever's coming up for me? Do I want to discharge what's coming up? Or do I want to simply observe what's coming up for me? And over this past year, like I've really created a lot more space, and I can't remember who said what when, but the like doing less creates that space, and it's allowed me to observe a lot more. And for me, like tying it in now to like urgency is one of the things I've been thinking about a lot. And I've reached a point where I think I've like swung so far against urgency that like I need to not need. I've been working on like, can I bring that energy back without being like, this is bad? Like I was just doing the dishes while you were presenting, and it's like, is it bad to like quickly do the dishes? Because like I don't like doing them if I can just like get them done without feeling like there's an urgency around it. Like, so what's the meaning making around it? Is something that's been a practice, but really digging into it through like, do I want to counter this energy, observe it, or like discharge this energy?
Yeah, Molly, I love that something that you just said really struck me, this idea that there's like a difference between moving quickly and being urgent. That like somatically, those things are felt in really profoundly different ways. So thank you for naming that.
I just like, Doris, that you used the word practice, because I think that's what it is, right? Like that we have these intentions and we lay them out, and then time is a factor, like, and I think time plays into urgency actually. And so, like we had 2 community partners that we were working with. We had a small class. We had a certain amount of time and a certain time of the day that we had to be with our partners. And so all of those things factor into what's possible. And if you were able to remove that construct,
5:30.
if you're able to remove that construct of time, like how different that would be. But yet here we are, and we're so it's a practice, right? Because you give things up in service of time, for example, and in service of other things too. But then you always have to experiment with what are you willing to give up, and what is really essential. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what I'm thinking about.
I'd say that it's really important to stress that, you know, as we like this, the social aspect of it all, and how I know that at least personally, how I find myself very frequently in a situation where I think it's just like if it's just it's up to me, like only I need to center myself, like be, you know, zen as possible and everything, then everything's gonna fall into place. But it's and then that leads into insanity because it doesn't function that way. But it is important, right, to build the community and surround yourself with people who share those values and have the same goals, right? And that I also kind of connect to yoga because I used to be an instructor as well, where they have something, not just yoga, but in Buddhism, it's satsang, the group of truth, right? Of people that share your truth. And I don't know, that always kind of, I love the word and I love the meaning behind it. So I don't know. I thought that that was like maybe like one of the more important notes from like this of all of the presentations, because in Molly's as well, like it's still working with groups, and you, Missy and Kathy, like you were working, you know, with like in a community within a community. It's, yeah, I'll stop there.
Everything you just said made me think of Molly starting with the care to share and the need to know. And I've just been thinking about how that's been such an essential part of our anti-racist coalition, just that beginning each and every session with like being human together, being vulnerable together, and really naming those things that are surfacing and that we're bringing into the space and informing our time together. And that takes time, but I think it's so essential for building that trust, Molly, that you spoke to. And yeah.
Do we have any other questions? Sharings? Totally fine as well.
I would like to share a little something. It's nothing profound. Sorry if there's some background noise. There's just maintenance stuff going on in my apartment. But I just wanted to say like thank you to everyone, like all of the like presenters and also the audience members. I feel like there's just a very welcoming community and a very supportive community. And yeah, I attended the conference last year just as like a audience member, and this year I presented, and it was very nerve-wracking because I just graduated college and I don't feel like I have much to tell people, I guess. So yeah, so I just the supportive environment was just very important, and yeah, I really appreciate it.
One thought that I had is that there are many different ways to dismantle urgency. There are many cultures that don't emphasize it. There are ways of thinking. And so no matter what my orientation, my personal biases, there's a system out there that I can relate to get to the same place that somebody else is getting to, but they come by a different path. So there are many paths to get to what seems to be a central place that whenever humans ascribe a sense of urgency to something, it's not that important. It just isn't. Yeah. The things that are important do not require urgency. There's a saying, I can't quote the person, but I've heard a saying that nature does not hurry, yet everything gets done. And I think that's a good philosophy to live by.
I think we'll bring today's cluster to, not today, we've got another cluster coming up later, and the schedule, you've got it in the chat and hopefully on your email as well. And thank you all for today. The presenters, the participants, and it's been such a joy. I wish you a wonderful day, and the rest of the journey, I'm gonna go to sleep because it's late here, and you let me know how it was. Bye.
Thanks, Malina. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
And gratitude.